If you're a LumenRadio user, then you're familiar with the LumenRadio CRMX and all of its fantastic wireless RDM features. It is by far the best wireless RDM system on Earth. And the start of that system is to use the LumenRadio high-end transmitters. So they make the TX1 and the TX2, and I have a TX2 on display. I have connected it through an Ethernet cable to my computer, and over on the other side I have several of our LumenDim products. So RC4 Wireless LumenDim M2, LumenDimPix, and the big LumenDim 4. So now we're going to get into the software of the LumenRadio software, which is SuperNova. Pops up and acknowledges which Ethernet port it's going to use to talk to the transmitter, and then it opens up, and here we go. First thing it finds by itself is the presence of the transmitter, so there's the TX2. If I hover over that, it gives me some information about it. And now I can go to Discovery and tell it to do a full discovery, and it goes out and searches for the external devices. Now, if you were using other LumenDim or LumenRadio products, of which there are many, including main brand moving lights and fixtures, and that are available with LumenRadio CRMX RF cards built in, then they would appear in this process also. So what we're seeing here today are just RC4 products, but the great power of RDM is that it's an industry standard, so it's industry-wide. So what we have here are, first of all, it goes out and identifies the CRMX radio cards that are in the devices. And we can pull some things around and see here is the LumenDim 4, the big one, and this is the RF card that's associated with it. And here is the LumenDim M2. Move that over here. Here's the RF card that's associated with that. And then finally, the PIX that's out there. So in this case, in this discovery, the radio card that goes with it, there's our transmitter, and these are our three devices. And the wireless links are dotted lines, and the physical links, which in this case are inside our devices, they're shown by solid lines. Sometimes if you have many devices up there, the lines start to get a little garbly, so you can actually dim those out and keep it neat and clean. For a simple layout like this, it's nice to keep the lines visible. So now let's go into a device itself. So here, if I hover over our LumenDim, we get the name of the product, and note that it's broken into sections, so the dimmers themselves are sub-devices. And the main root device is actually the sensors. So let's double-click on that. And if we look at sensors, here we have battery voltage, the temperature inside, and if I had a load up and running, the current draw. And we can drag that out, put it somewhere on the screen, leave it there. We can monitor this information for any device all the time. Let's look at a dimmer. Let's go down to the LumenDim 4 and double-click on the third dimmer in that device. And here we have, because this is the larger dimmer, there's actually a sensor in there too. There's one sensor that is just the current draw for the third dimmer in that box. Of course, I have no load, so you don't see anything on the graph yet. And let's look at DMX information. It happens to be set to channel 3. I can change that. I can make it any channel, and it's instantaneously that new channel. And I can go over to dimmer parameters. This one I've noticed takes a moment to query and get all the information. And then it will pop up, and we have all the dimmer curves. As we've talked about in other tutorials, they're all there. You could do AC synth and ring a phone, servo motors in either direction, all the regular curves that we use for lamps, RC4 Digital Persistence, here are all the speeds, and frequency, different frequencies of PWM. Default is 5K on our LumenDim products, great for film, motion picture, video, and you can go all the way up to 40. And remember, all of these settings are for one dimmer within a device. I can go over to the A dimmer in that device, and we'll see that it is on a different DMX channel. It's down on 1. And I can go over to the dimmer parameters, and they could be different. I might have one set up to be a servo and another one set up to be a halogen lamp. But this is a tremendously powerful system for monitoring sensors live, controlling the configuration, and all with these devices out in the field. So I do have to highly recommend going with LumenDim and LumenRadio and their transmitter, which does this wireless RDM functionality, for really the very, very best completely wireless remote control configuration experience that you're going to have in wireless dimmers. It's just spectacular.